Okay.
Oh,
Nick?
Yes.
Oh, you're in. As
I'm
close
in.
as you
I can
can.
see my picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're
oh,
both here.
I don't recognize, is it?
Karen?
Karen, yes. Hello.
Okay,
I'm new.
Good, great.
good, wonderful.
I talked with Laura a few weeks ago, and I wanted to
Yeah.
join 2 weeks ago, but we were getting ready for a vacation, so I wasn't able to join. So, but now I'm back and wanted to join in.
Great.
And you're the one who has the ancestor Olive Osmondson?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
I mentioned that to the group, I think last time, with
Thank you.
became a singer. Cooking
Yes.
with
The
Stephen.
person on it.
Piano player.
Yeah,
And traveled the Midwest.
It's all.
Yeah. And here's, this is from the sheriff book here. That's her father.
All right.
You can see he
Okay.
was, a number of times he was elected.
Yes.
Times. He
They
was-
had to, they couldn't be reelected continuously. They had to take 2 years off. So I think he was reelected like 6 different times.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, on this
And,
page, there's 1, 2, 3, 5 of his. This is, I just copied a page from the Sheriff's Department, put out a book,
Okay.
a 3-part book last year, and this is from that book.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see that.
Yeah, so I found his picture. He's a nice looking man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so he married one of my great aunts. So I've basically been trying to do a lot of research on the HIT side of our family, HITT. And they are from the Clay Banks area. I know most of you are from the northern edge there, but I was hoping that we might be able to, do some, brainstorming for the Clay Banks area as well.
Yeah, and the Hits are well known. They were early loggers in the Clay Banks area.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
important group. And Dick, you did meet Dick Hitt. Dick Hitt used to live in Sturgeon Bay and then moved to Milwaukee.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Did anyone know him?
Dick and Marge.
Yeah, he came in the library often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his dad was Rube Hitt, who retired. He was the bridge tender there on the river for, I think, like 50 years.
Right in Sturgeon Bay, was that?
Mhm.
The
Yes.
father?
Yeah, Rubert, but they called him Rube, R-U-B-E.
I know that Dick himself was, he ran the Claybank Cemetery,
Yes.
and he would try to get markers for like little babies that were buried there that didn't have markers and names, and he'd contact the relatives and do the research, genealogy research, in order to do something about that. So very kind-hearted person.
Very generous. Yes, very sweet man.
So it looks like Tom's gone again. Is he?
No, I'm here. I'm here. I just got to figure out why I can't see it or why my picture is showing up.
It's not a good connection today.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I'm sure I must not be here.
Well, when you do, it says recording and it turns black when you talk.
Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You can kind of see you as a shadow in the background.
Oh. Oh, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, just keep going and I'll figure it out, okay?
Maybe that's not a good sign, Tom.
Yeah, maybe not. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Yeah, I put that. I'm trying different things here, but it didn't help.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to join the meeting. Let's see if I can get in there. Join meeting. Cannot join me because you are already in the meeting. Okay, thank you. So why can't I get, oh, well, I got that now. Let's see if I can show everybody.
There's always a problem with something.
Yeah.
So, Tom, how do we, well, I guess you're worrying about that. You want me to cancel your video and then you redo it, or?
Yeah, maybe you ought to do that. Maybe disconnect. Oh, yeah, because it says the host has stopped my video. So maybe host has asked you to start your video. Okay, I did that. Does that do it?
Is there anything
Oh.
over your camera?
Not that I know of. I'll tell you what, I will log off entirely and log back in,
Why
okay?
don't you reboot your iPad?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
So while he's gone, he was planning on talking to everyone about how we want to run this meeting because we didn't have a really concrete way of doing things. Does anyone have any suggestions? Anything you want to cover in particular? I know in the Northern Door area, you would help people with genealogy every week, right?
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, it was on
Well, we did.
every
We did.
Tuesday, but that's no longer happening.
Yeah.
Something I think would be fun to discuss is if we have, when you are doing genealogy, I'm finding something new and exciting every week. So that would be something to mention is a new discovery, whether it be useful for just a few people or for a lot of people. I think, we can all benefit from something new that I learned this past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we used to, our meetings were mostly going around the table and everybody would report on what they're currently doing. And that would include, new discoveries or whatever. And then that would start a discussion about that. So that's the way we used to operate.
So that's kind of how we were doing things, but a little looser here, I guess. I don't know, with different people coming every week. Like last week, we had that gentleman who wrote the book
Oh, yes,
join us. But and this week we have Karen.
that's great.
So I have that written down, and let's see if Tom can come back. He had that idea to discuss that. I kind of like that. Tom actually stopped in the library this morning, and I started telling him what I got questions here, and so I got carried away. When people ask me reference questions that have to do with history, genealogy, or some such thing, I get carried away, and I have to stop myself because it's that dark hole that you fall down.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, so I have learned all sorts of fun stories this week about some Sturgeon Bay characters.
Oh, that's fun.
But, I don't know if you're interested in hearing it, but they're restoring the TAP buildings, and the Advocate building was sold to the people who are restoring TAP, the theater, which used to be the old Donna Theater.
Mhm.
So they want to know what the buildings looked like before it became the Donna Theater in the 1950s. So luckily, I don't know if you all are aware, but the library has control now of the Door County Archives. And they used to be in some different buildings, but they've been carried over here to the basement while things are getting organized to possibly restore that or fix up that Yonkers building and put things over there.
Yeah.
So there's, I turned that question over to Steve Rice, you've met him, I think some of you.
Yes.
He's the one in charge of some of that, and he found there's a huge collection of like slides and negatives and things in that collection. So, and they were really beautifully organized by Sally Tricho. Does everyone know Sally Tricho, or have you met her?
No.
She was part of the Peninsula Genealogical Society that disbanded, but she did a crazy amount of indexing. Like she did the obituary index that we have here.
Oh.
And can you imagine going through all those old microfilms, noting down obituaries from 1862 on? So she did that, and she's just done a lot of work, and she was involved with archives, and she's got all of these negatives and things organized really well, according to Steve. I haven't seen them myself, but he did find a couple of things that show that building from around 1900. And it's, a classic Victorian type of downtown building. So we were able to give that to them. But in the process of doing that, we were looking in the old newspapers, and there were fires over there quite often. There were big fires in the area. And it turns out this one man, there was a really long story about a man named Barney Hahn, H-A-H-N, who was in the city government and sort of a big guy around town. And he had what was called the Opera House just down the street. And he was accused of, by state people came in and investigated a big fire, and they accused him of setting the fire. And
Hey,
There he is.
hey, I'm back.
I was just telling them about the building I was researching a little. So
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
this character Barney, not only was he accused of setting that fire, but he got off in the end. The local people acquitted him, probably because he was an important local citizen. But then I found, like, that was 1907. And then I was looking a little later, he passed away in 1931. And in 1930, he was accused of forgery, and he's accused of arson again.
Oh dear.
It sounds like he did a lot of this sort of thing over and over. So what an interesting local, colorful character. And then the whole Falk family, which are some of the earliest settlers in Door County in the 1850s. That building was owned by John Falk. So I could go on and on, but you know, I go home from work and I can't help but research all these people. So that's what I did this week. But
Okay.
now that you're back, Tom, do you want to talk about what we'll do in meetings? They were pointing out what you did in the past with the Sister Bay meetings. So
Right. Yeah, we always went around the table and just talked about what we were doing, and then occasionally we'd have somebody give a short talk on something. Or
Would this be the stuff that you're doing on your own, or that you are helping other people with?
Usually it was on your own, but occasionally like Dave Weston especially, he was helping a lot of. See, he seemed to get all the interesting characters.
Okay.
So he always had something to say.
Never had Barney though.
No.
Good.
So, yeah.
And though, and
Yeah, but then we always kept up on Gretchen with her
with my loft.
tons of research material.
Yes.
So it was pretty much very relaxed. You know, we very seldom had an agenda, but you know, I think we talked about, everybody jump in if you want, but we talked about trying to get a more I don't know, a regular schedule where we have maybe a speaker, or try to get a speaker, or somebody prepares a presentation, a short presentation of some kind that we can discuss. But we never really got there because then COVID came along. So.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So do we want to have bi-weekly meetings, or do you think we should go to once a week the way that you used to have meetings?
We had once a month.
No,
Or
we had once a month.
That's what I meant, once a month.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we were at the library once a week, but we had once a month. Well, I think my personal opinion is that if we're going to have somebody give a talk, whether it be somebody from outside or somebody within our group give a talk, then I can see having 2 meetings a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because that meeting we can talk about that topic, and then the second meeting we could talk about what we're doing and what we've come up with and what's been happening in the industry. But that's my thought. If we're only going to have 1 meeting, or if we're not going to have an outside speaker, then I think we could probably go to just 1 meeting. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
we would agree with that.
Yeah.
But that behooves. That means though that we have to go to 1 meeting or go to 2 meetings with a speaker?
I'd say go to 1 meeting, and then if anyone has any ideas of speakers, we could do that on occasion, not necessarily on a regular schedule, but schedule special meetings that would be speakers.
Yeah, we also talked about, along that line, talking about having a night meeting of some kind where we had a speaker, similar to what you have done, like with your, I think you did a DNA one, Laura, not last year sometime? Didn't you do a DNA meeting? Yeah.
I have done programs here where I just talk about genealogy, and one of the, say, 4 programs is on DNA.
Yeah, and that was at night, wasn't it?
I don't think it was at night. It was in
wasn't it? Okay.
I don't remember.
Well, it's all dark to me, so.
But yeah, I love talking about DNA.
Yeah, well,
Especially
good.
now, has everyone heard Ancestry is sold?
Yes, I just saw that. Yes, is it
Really?
yesterday?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We didn't know.
no, tell us about it.
Well,
Well,
it's
if you just Google Blackstone,
yeah, Blackstone bought it.
Yeah.
and Ancestry, you'll find the whole story. It's just a big investment group.
Right.
Yeah, how much did they pay?
4.7 billion.
Wow.
Billion.
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 What are they planning to do?
Huh?
Well, that is going to be interesting if we're going to have a big rate increase.
Who
Well,
knows
yeah,
what-
who is Blackstone? What's the background of
Well,
Blackstone?
it says here, I have the paper I printed out from their website. Blackstone is one of the world's leading investment firms. We seek to create positive economic impact and long-term value for our investors, the companies we invest in, and the communities in which we work. We do this by using extraordinary people and flexible capital to help companies solve problems. This sounds like a real sales job, but
Awesome.
I think some of the things, some of this is, well, they have like 75% of the company now. And I think some of it is in like Singapore. So you start wondering about some of this, that sort of thing, but
Well, I think the other 25% is part of Singapore, or the money is coming from a group in Singapore. Yeah, but
okay.
they already owned it. They already owned the thing because they bought it from Saudi.
how secure is our data?
That's what everyone worries about. And then look what happened with GEDmatch, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think, and it's interesting that Ancestry just, last week or a week before last, announced that they had a new Ancestry Health, okay, which I assume it's going to be taking DNA results and applying them to, or making them available in, hopefully in, not specifically, but in groups, you know, to medical industry, you know, like 23andMe does, you know. I think this is in direct competition with 23andMe.
That's exactly what the article said.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they understand what I know.
I know.
If you read the history of it, if you read Wikipedia has some of the history of those companies, and 23andMe, when they first came out, was doing DNA for genealogy, but they were giving health information, and they were sued by the pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
Because they didn't want the competition. They were charging more through the pharmaceutical companies than 23andMe was. So they finally came to some sort of agreement. But it's all about the money in the background, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, the medical industry, you know, wants to get at the genealogy data that Ancestry has.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they see a way of using that to get an idea of, you know, of how many people are going to get, you know, I don't know, some disease. Okay. And, you know, I guess, I don't know. Okay. And they certainly can't get it from the Church of Latter-day Saints. So they got to go this other way, you know, because the Church of Latter-day Saints isn't going to give it. They don't even have DNA tests.
They don't have it, no.
No, they don't even have DNA testing. They probably never will.
Who is that?
I don't, but.
Which, the Latter-day Saints?
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever have DNA testing.
Who's in charge of FTDNA, family tree DNA?
I think you can transfer your DNA records to them, but they don't have the tests themselves.
I think
That's how they have it set up.
I think they do Y-DNA in different levels. My brother had that. Well, that was National Geographic, but I think they do have tests now. National Geographic is quitting their genomic project.
Yeah, they're done with their geo whatever project for some reason.
Huh.
But yeah, I know it's
Now Laura probably has had her DNA tested. Have all of you had your DNA done through Ancestry?
No, I don't care to either.
I don't either. I think it's too personally invasive.
Yes.
Okay.
I've had mine and my wife has had hers. So we both have had ours.
Yeah, I did my husband's too. It was interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah,
get
it
all
was-
sorts
it
of
was interesting.
connections with, you know, cousins and second.
That's exactly what I don't want.
Well, most of them don't even answer. I mean, you know, you can get connected to people and you send them a message and they don't answer. So,
Yeah,
And Ancestry recently announced that they were eliminating the low matches. Did you?
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, the
well,
8
that makes sense.
Central
Not
Morgan.
necessarily though.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say why.
Yeah.
I
They're
found
eliminating what? The what?
The low match.
matches.
the, they match
remote,
you by
Smaller
centimorgans.
percentage.
They match you by centimorgans, how many and how long.
Yeah.
And I had a match with two ladies it was very early on and sort of disappeared over time at Ancestry. You know how those people come and go there. But two ladies who were related through DNA, very little DNA, but to a family in New York in the 1600s. And all three of us had pretty complete family trees and we all matched with a little DNA.
Yeah. I'm going to
remarkable.
Oh, yeah, because it's back
take
so
back what
far.
I said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's back so far.
I mean,
So-
Dan's got some
Luckily, I have
mysteries.
screenshots.
And Dan has some mysteries that go back that far. He has a great-great-grandmother who was born in 1803, surnamed Baker. And that's one of our, like, the brick walls, because it's such a common name. Supposedly she was born in New York. We have never figured out who her parents were.
Mhm.
So I was hoping that maybe in the DNA something might pop up, but that's pretty remote.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like, and that's why Linda did hers. My wife did hers, is because she has her paternal great grandfather was an orphan, and
Right.
you know, don't know who his parents were or where they, you know. I mean, family lore says one thing, but I have to prove it.
Wonder if you're gonna stop in.
Well, I have a couple of happy DNA stories. I was
Oh, well, good.
with doing a couple of my parents, my cousins, we were able to connect with some other cousins, and then in so doing, we found some just basically things that have been inherited and passed down through the generations from my second great grandfather and grandmother, that we found that somebody still has her wedding band.
Yeah, that's
Somebody
nice.
still, then another family member has their butter churn, which of course is of no value, but you know, it's just kind of neat to see pictures of some things that people used and handled. And so then another cousin went to, it was my third or fourth great grandfather and mother out on the Mississippi side of Wisconsin in Fountain City, and their old one-room house is still standing, as is the barn. So somebody went and took pictures of that. So it's just kind of neat to be able to see how people lived. And then this past week, through another DNA test, I've done, in search of other family members, we did Ancestry 23andMe and MyHeritage. And through 23andMe, I was able to connect with my father's half-sister's family. And so just met with basically my first cousin for the first time in Sister Bay this past week.
Are all your family then?
I have a lot of family from Door County, but then they're all, you know, I have family all over the place.
Where's the original families on either side be? Where did they come from?
The Hitt family is originally from England and then lived in New York for a while, and then Chauncey then went down the St. Lawrence Seaway, ended up in Canada for a few years because that's where my second great grandfather was born, and then ended up in Door County in Clay Banks. And then that's where he became he had the second or the longest pier at the time for logging. It was 1,600 feet long.
Oh,
Oh, goodness.
And then did like 10,000
Oh.
shingles a day out of his lumber business. And then my other side of the family is from the Fountain City area and from Germany.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then I had another side that which we newly discovered is that my dad unfortunately never knew his biological father, so that's how we were recently able to find this cousin. And it turns out that my dad is 50% Jewish, and we grew up in Antigo, which is in northern Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And there aren't any Jews in Antigo.
No.
So we knew
No.
that my grandmother, she had come to Milwaukee to cosmetology school or beauty school, they called it at the time. So then that's where we figured out then that she met this mystery man.
Yeah.
And then now with DNA,
yeah.
we were
that's
able
interesting.
to connect. And unfortunately, my dad's sister passed away in September.
Oh,
But we have, but now I'm getting pictures of this man and getting to know who he was. He died in 92, so I would have had plenty of time to know him.
huh.
But so now I get to, by meeting these people, I get to hear what kind of person he was like.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's great. That's great.
Great.
That's good. Yeah, I've had no contacts with anything from either Linda's, my wife's, or my DNA. I mean, I've got a whole listing of people, but most of them don't have any type of
Tree.
tree, and the ones that do have a tree have them locked. They make them
Yeah.
private.
Yeah.
And I have not gotten a response when I've asked, to. And what really surprises me is that on Linda's tree, she has a complete tree from what we know, and there are no matches to speak of, no recognizable names whatsoever in the DNA, which tells me that
She is a mystery person, though, doesn't she, Tom? Doesn't she have that mystery?
well, she has.
Family?
See, the story was always that John was a orphan because his mother and dad died on a wagon train in the Oklahoma land rush. Okay. And just coincidentally, there is a woman with the same last name who was murdered on the Oklahoma Territory during the land rush. And so, you start looking at, and she's also supposedly the daughter of a rich plantation owner in Alabama, is what the newspaper article said. But if she is in the family, it would have been from Arkansas, and because her aunt Linda's John's so-called ancestor would have been a rich plantation owner in Arkansas. So, but none of that shows up, in the DNA yet. Okay, I got all these.
The lady who was murdered was from that family, from that plantation?
Pardon me?
The lady who was murdered was from that plantation?
I haven't been able to prove that yet, that she was from that plantation. But I be honest with you, I haven't gotten back to it for the last 6 months. So who knows?
What was the name?
Foster, Foster.
Yeah.
Well, another common name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Fortunately, the guy in Arkansas was very well-to-do. There are streets named after him. It's by Fort Smith, Arkansas. There's streets and rivers and towns named after him. And the family was fairly predominant in the area. So even up until probably 30 years ago. So.
Well, the only thing I would do is I would encourage you to keep reaching out to other people, because I've had really good luck. I was able to connect with, he's like a third or fourth cousin. And he still lives out east. And then because then with the family that actually ended up moving to Antigo is their last name is Gentner. So it's spelled the German way, Guentthner. There were 4 brothers that moved from Germany to to Massachusetts, lived there. They were all cobblers. Then because we, obviously with manufacturing starting, then 2 brothers moved west, 2 brothers stayed. The 2 brothers that stayed, they started spelling their name Gientner.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten in touch with one of them, and he's actually researched quite a bit more than I have. And we've been emailing each other back and forth. And I said to him, with all of this fabulous information, you should write this down. And that's what he's in the middle of doing. So I'm blessed to, have, met him via online, and all of this work, it doesn't have to be repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, right. Sure.
And
That's
then
great.
I've also been able to connect with a couple of other cousins that I didn't know that we had through the Gentner side and the Hit side, and now we're Facebook friends. So it's just kind of neat to, see what family's up to. And then if they're ever, I live in Caledonia right now, which is just south of Oak Creek in Racine County. And where if anybody's ever in the Milwaukee area, then, we try to take them out for a boat ride or what have you, just to meet, people.
Sure. So, well, it can be fun. There is a there is a, like many Facebook pages, but there is a Facebook page or Facebook group that you can join called Ancestry DNA. And there is a debate going on right now in the Ancestry DNA about this, getting rid of the small centromorgan matches.
Oh,
There's a big, sometimes it gets a little vocal. You can almost hear them over the Facebook page. They're so irate. But it's kind of interesting, to see it. So
I just have a question. Neither Dave nor I have done DNA, but when you were talking about the name changes, the spelling changes, how are you able to determine whether or not you're following then the same family? Because some name changes are so dramatic.
It is difficult, and with the help of this gentleman who I do match, you can see that we share the same DNA, and then with the through lines, we were able to see that it was through the Gentner side, and then we started just talking, and then I can trace back my Joseph Gentner to his parents over in Germany, which were, his grandparents as well. And then he knows about, then he was the one who started telling me all about the different name changes with the GIENT.
At what point do they say your DNA percent actually follows this particular line?
It can go back as far as 5 generations, as far as I have read, but then after that, it gets, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
with mine, as I mentioned, the only reason I know those 2 ladies and I were matches, the DNA was so low that it could have been a mismatch, but our trees were so complete. We all went back to 3 brothers from the same family in our trees. So my guess is we were correct.
Right.
The fact that we all had that same tree.
And like I said, I can see all of the hit relatives, because it'll come back and it says mother's side or father's side. And then I can, if they have a tree, I can click on it to see if it's the Hit side or the Gentner side, which is, it turned out to be, fantastic, because then what I'm in the process of doing right now is, so my grandmother, who was a Hit, has been gone for, 25 years. But I was able to ask, so Dick Hit is in the same generation as she was. my brick wall is their grandmother. We can't figure out where she came. Well, supposedly she came from out east, but we can't find any family. So I've tested my great aunt, which is his generation, and another cousin, which is that generation. And then I'm trying to get hold of Dick's sister, who is still alive, and she's 92 and she lives in Marinette, and see if she'd be willing to test. So if then I have all 4 people that have tested in the same generation, I might be able to triangulate a different family pattern than is showing up in the through lines, because I don't think that the through lines is correct with how they have this lady, my 3rd great grandmother. They're saying that she came from this other Walters family, but the Walters family out east doesn't have her date of birth recorded. And there's actually another lady that was born 6 months after she was, and she ended up out west somewhere. And they're saying that that is that Walters family's daughter. So it can't be, with only 6 months apart, they can't be the same family.
Yeah.
So with testing, you know, and that's the problem is, you know, they're 90s. They're 89, 90, 92.
Right.
So, you know, I have to try to get them as soon as I can.
Right.
Do any of those trees have a lot of sources? Since you could see the tree on Ancestry, do they have a lot of sources? They don't have any sources, huh?
No,
That's
they don't.
what I always wonder too. You look at it and then sources, you look at the dates and you can dismiss it, or for some other reason.
But you don't need the trees if I have generations of, if I have 4 or 5 people from the same generation, I should be able to triangulate the, you know, a generation that's only 2 generations older than they are.
Yeah.
If I only have 1 or 2, it's difficult. But if I have, the more I have, the more I might be able to break through that brick wall.
Sure. Sure.
So that's what I'm in the process of doing.
Well,
So are you interested in locating living relatives or going back in time?
Both. What I really would like to find out, you know, who this woman's family was. I'm a big history buff. So the Hitt family, there's Dennis Hitt was Chauncey's, I think, 3rd or 4th great grandfather, and he was in the Revolutionary War. So there's records written about, you know, that he was in the Battle of Saratoga, which of course was a pivotal, you know, battle in the Revolutionary War. So if I could find it, if her family goes back and is still in the States at the time of the Revolutionary War, it would just be interesting to see what part, or, you know, her family had to do with that period of time.
who in our group was it from the Mayflower? Oh, that's what's her name? Dave, you know.
Ann.
Ann
Okay.
Yeah.
Ann is just after the Mayflower,
Yeah.
but close enough. So
Was that it?
correct than I am.
Ann Lewis.
My
Or Ann
sister married into a family that is from the Mayflower by the name of Blish, B-L-I-S-C-H or B-L-I-S-H. And that is, it can be fully tracked back.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's
it's
it's very
400th year
easy
this
to
year.
track. It's kind of easy to track back because they've done so much extensive genealogy on those
Yeah.
people. My husband is connected to Stephen Hopkins, who was on the Mayflower.
It's amazing how many people there are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not one of them, but
no, I'm not either.
My streets definitely were not there.
Not unless the Mayflower went back over to Europe and went to Germany and picked up my answer.
Yeah.
Were they part of Uber?
Huh? Nothing. I'm just no. No.
well,
But
and now with Alexander Hamilton, you know, that whole
Yeah.
has anybody gotten a chance to see that in person or on Disney Plus?
Just Disney Plus, yeah.
Oh, it's just
That
fabulous.
was great. That was great. Yeah.
And anyway, so Chauncey Hitt's daughter married a Schuyler,
Oh,
which is, Elizabeth Schuyler was,
Oh.
Alexander's wife.
yeah.
Oh, I'll be darned. Okay.
So,
Wow.
and so the Schuylers were living in Door County.
Really? Wow.
Really?
Yes, there's
Huh.
there's the Schuyler Park, the fishery, just north of the Claybank Cemetery. There's right on the lake. There is a Schuyler fishing kind of conservancy. It's a huge park that the Schuyler family donated. So it's spelled Schuyler, so not like how you would think it's
Oh, yeah.
spelled.
Okay. That's fine.
But
Yeah.
it is Schuyler was how Elizabeth Schuyler's name was spelled, and that is that family that was living in Door County.
I've got to remember that there's more to Door County that's south of Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
North. I keep forgetting.
Well, I
that.
guess Claybanks is kind of like the sleepy town of Door County. Is that right?
I
I
don't
think
know.
practically non-existent.
It used to be the biggest area, in the early days.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that was the
well.
economy. The ships would send out the logs
Mm-hmm.
from that area.
So some big news remember, Laura, you sent me that email about the gentleman that was researching all of the
Big boy.
peers that have disappeared. Well, I've been in contact with him, and he just went
The what? What is? Excuse
publishing
me. The what
last
is
week.
it? Disappeared? You mentioned something that disappeared. I didn't catch that.
The peers that were
Oh,
on
peers.
Lake Michigan.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All
huge
right.
years.
Yep. I'm with you.
And Laura, I don't remember what his name was.
His name's Dick Boyd. He's
Yes.
Dr. Dick Boyd, Richard Boyd, underwater archaeologist, retired from the university. And he's been up here quite a bit. He's written books on the pirate of something island, the guys up there, the Mormon who is a pirate up north of Washington Island. Does anyone know about him? King Strange or something like that. He wrote that book. He does underwater archaeology, and he's doing a very in-depth book on the Claybanks area with some other people. It's ready to be published, but they've been slowed down because of the virus.
Well, supposedly he just sent it off to be printed last week.
Wonderful.
So, and I think he's done quite a bit of work, and so they have a lot of with those piers where they didn't even know where they were anymore. They found, they found remnants, and they found a lot of shipwrecks.
Yeah.
Because they would, of course, you're right out there. There weren't any break walls back then, and so there were ships that got damaged from ice. There's lots of articles about it in the old Door County Advocates when you're, read through those about all of the ships that ended up sinking out there.
Mm-hmm. And he's doing a lot of really in-depth research. He's really good at that. I talked to him recently, or wrote back. He did a talk on Alvin Clark, was it a year ago or 2 years ago? It seems like so long ago. That's the ship that they raised from, where was it? A little bit up north, and then the whole thing disintegrated. Remember hearing that story, the Alvin Clark? When he was very young, he was involved with that. So he came and gave a talk on it, but he's interested in the fur trading cabins in this area. He actually came from Kaukauna, and he was so involved with history research that they gave him a lifetime membership when he was about 10 years old to the State Historical Society. Can you believe that? He's a real character. But he knows an awful lot about the ships, and if you look at the pictures of those stationery from that Horns Pier area, they had huge warehouses there. It was really a thriving area in the very early days in Door County.
So now somebody was telling me that, and maybe you guys don't know, but somebody was telling me that there was a fire in the Claybanks area that used to house a bunch of genealogical artifacts. Laura, do you know anything about that?
You heard about that?
Okay.
Uh,
Because I guess I'm wondering where I can go to get any more information, because Claybanks is so small.
Mhm.
You know, does anybody have any idea where I could get more information from?
Well,
We have,
yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, we have a gentleman here in Egg Harbor, Giz Herbst, Herbst. And Giz was, is a gem. I mean, his knowledge of Door County and the history of Door County and the adjoining areas. He had been giving presentations at the Crest Pavilion up until COVID, and beautiful slide presentations, all kinds of information, and including Claybanks. He
Yes.
knew a great deal. And is it, Dave, every day in the paper? How often?
Let me just explain that. Right now, Giz Herbst is doing a page a day from the Leatham D. Smith Chronicles during World War II, whereby Leatham D. Smith Shipbuilding Company built 258 wartime vessels for the Navy, the U.S. Navy and the Army, and also for France and England. And it's just an amazing piece of historical work that he's doing. And I read it first thing every morning. It comes in my email.
Really?
It's called a page a day from the Leatham D. Smith Shipyard
But I
Corporation.
think he's running it through the Crest Pavilion.
He's running it through the Crest Pavilion, so you can, if you wanted to look at previous articles, they have a complete library at the Crest Pavilion on the very first day that Giz Herbst started this chronicle
Is that
about shipbuilding.
online?
It's online, yes.
Okay.
And just contact Jess over at the Crest Pavilion, and she has the complete historical record from the day he started. And it's called Page a Day. It's a newsletter that was published by the Leatham D. Smith Corporation during World War II.
But actually, it's all coming from the Egg Harbor Historical Society, and
Yes.
Giz is the,
Giz is the sort of
President,
the
I guess.
curator and president.
but he is just amazing.
Yeah.
And he knows the surrounding area to a
Yeah, he was.
degree that I was just, nobody believes.
Yeah, yeah, he grew up in Sturgeon Bay.
All right.
And also, there's a lady.
Does anybody have an email address or phone number for him?
Look it up.
I get it every day in my email.
You could contact the Crest Pavilion and
Yeah,
Okay.
over there.
yeah.
Okay.
Jess, her name
Just
is
Reinke.
Jess Reinke at the Crest Pavilion. You can even call her on the phone. She's there every day. She's the manager of the Crest Pavilion, and she has it all documented. But if you just wanted to sign up for it and start receiving it in your email every day, every morning, Giz puts it out there at 5 o'clock every morning.
Good for him.
And he's just a dedicated historian, let me tell you.
Nice.
And
Okay.
someone else who's very knowledgeable about that area is Virginia Johnson. She's kind of like the historian for Algoma. Dick Boyd would have her contact information
Okay.
because she helped him quite a bit with, she's written books too about that area, Claybanks area.
Okay.
And by the way,
Karen, have you been able to find about Olive when she died or not yet?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
I
I
couldn't
can
find any
I
clue.
find the last mention that I find of her is from, a New Year's Eve party for January 1st, 1952. I did see in the Advocate what her husband's name was in 45, but who's to say that was, that they stayed married.
Well,
I
she
think
was
I
married to Frank Smith, and I haven't found much on him, but the second marriage, that Howard Burbrick,
Oh.
he died in 1983, but they weren't still married. He had a different wife.
Oh, okay.
So I was trying to help out a little. The latest I
Oh.
found her was 1958.
Yeah,
And that was some blurb in the paper I just went through the paper on the Door County website, the Door County Library website. And I
So you
was able
found
to find
something-
Al's obituary, for instance.
Right. Yeah, that was
Also,
sad.
Madeline and Martha have, they're
Right.
out on Find a Grave, but
Right,
Al is not, although his obituary says what cemetery he's in.
right.
There's
Yeah,
Badger Link has a newspaper archive that's Wisconsin newspapers, and if you look there, you'll see it's not every newspaper, but a bunch of them, and you'll see her appearing in all different cities in Wisconsin. And I found 1958 was the oldest too.
Okay. And was
It's
she
called
performing in 58?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it
He's
was
there
as
after-
Carol Cookie Stevens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you may need a library card to access that, but it's through Badger Link, which is a state database.
Right. I have the Racine County Library card. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called Wisconsin Newspaper Archive.
Okay.
And as I say, some cities are in there more than others. Like they have a lot of Oshkosh, a lot of Manitowoc,
They
Stevens
have
Point.
Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
No, that-
Yeah. I have a newspaper.com subscription, which, you know, sometimes that has, it doesn't, you know, unfortunately, it has the Green Bay area, but then, you know.
Yeah, it won't
and-
have the
and
little
Madison.
papers. It won't have the little papers. Also, I
Right.
looked a little at her stepbrother, Francis Howard Osmondson. He
Yes.
died in 2003. It's too bad you weren't looking for him then. Maybe you could have asked him. Maybe he knew. He died in Morton Grove, Illinois.
Right. I actually found his graduation photo in my great aunt's things when I was helping her go through photos. So I was able to at least upload, and she knew right away who that was. She was like, "Oh, that's Howard." So I was able to scan her photo and get it uploaded into Ancestry, or his photo rather. So it was. That's what I've been doing, is going around to all of my older relatives and asking if I can scan their photos. And if they know them, if they don't know who they are, I'll still, you know, scan the photo and then make, you know, document, okay, so this is from the Sturgeon Bay area, or this is from Fountain City, or this is from Wausau or Anago. And then at least be able to try to figure out what part of the family that's from, and judging from their clothing and, you know, things like that. And I've been able to figure out a few of those photos, who they are, by seeing some older pictures of them or something. So that's been kind of fun.
Yeah,
Great.
with photos, I had a connection with a family tree that I was looking for. And it's my uncle and aunt, and they had one daughter who died. And so I have inherited my aunt's scrapbooks. So I've had these 2 scrapbooks, but there's really nobody to give them to, except that my aunt did have one sister who had 4 children. So I've been kind of trying to figure out, you know, but on Ancestry, I got connected with somebody on that side of the family. And
Nice.
so we were emailing back and forth, and she sent me some pictures, and I looked through the scrapbooks and found some pictures and sent to her. Now I would like to get the addresses of some of those children or their grandchildren, because I have these wonderful scrapbooks that my aunt did, and they really, some parts of them relate to my family, but most of them relate to her family.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd like to get it back to the person that would, you know, it's relevant to. And
There's
they're
a
wonderful.
Facebook group online that does that, and they're so sweet. They go around to these antique stores and they buy photos,
Huh.
and they try to track down who the, you know, current, people are, that, you know, cousins, great
Wow.
grandchildren.
Wow.
Really sweet.
Wow.
Well, there's a couple there used to be at least a couple photo websites where you could, you know, post pictures that you don't know, but you have some idea of where they came from, like Rockford, Illinois would be mine. And, you know, you can post the pictures there, but it's a lot of work. And, you know, you don't really have very much information.
Right. No, I'm just trying to do my own tree.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Off
same
on
here.
these tangents.
Yeah. Okay, well, has anybody ever looked at the land property records in Wisconsin? I wanted to find out how my great grandfather where he got the land that he bought near Madison. And so I used the General Land Office records and tract maps, and I was able to come up with the actual document, the land patent, where the man bought the land from the U.S. government in 1854, 53, and he was the first buyer. And I think he was the first buyer because the land was a smaller parcel, and it also was not as it was kind of marshy, and so it didn't sell. Whereas the other land around it sold very quickly back in the 20s and so on, and certainly in 1835 when it was surveyed, they sold very quickly. But this piece was not. And then my great grandfather came along in 1854, and he bought the land. And it was interesting. It was 68 acres, and the guy by the name of William White bought the land from the U.S. government, and he paid $1.25 an acre for the 68 acres. So he paid a whole $85.44 for the 68 acres. And then he sold the land to my great grandfather for $1. Okay.
Wow.
At least that's what they recorded it for. Not $1 an acre, but $1. So there must have been something else going on under the table, some profits or something from the farming that, to pay them or something like land rent. But I haven't been able to find that. And of course, a little bit at a disadvantage not being able to go down and look at the records down in Madison. But there was quite a but I found the deed. I found the deed between White and my grandfather, and I found the quitclaim deed between my William White and the U.S. government. And I found an index which indicates what happened to the land that my grandfather had, how he got rid of it before he died, and he sold it to his son for $1. And I haven't been able to get that deed. That doesn't show up in the record books.
Was this online, Tom?
It was all online. Yeah, all this is online.
Wow. What database you're using? I have the BLM land patent database on our library page.
Yeah, and you can go there if you know the legal description. You can go to the legal description, and you can find the information. You can find the survey on the land. If it's
what is the site you're using, Tom?
Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, it's GLO.
BLO.
Yeah,
BLM.
GLO. I can get
BLM, right? Yeah, BLM.
And then BLM, yeah.
If you look on doorcountylibrary.org, there's a local history
Is that
genealogy
national or just Door County?
No, it's national. It's Wisconsin. Okay.
Wisconsin national.
I should back up.
By county and names.
Right.
Throw it down that way.
Right.
It's under the land records section of our library local history page. BLM. Look it up. It's BLM.
Yeah.
It's
Wisconsin is a land. What do they call it? Land something state. And so
Northwest Territory, aren't we?
Yeah, well, there's Minnesota's in it. Michigan is not. Minnesota, Iowa. I don't even know if Illinois is in it. It might be. But then the North and South Dakota and Colorado and all those are in this database. It's also Alabama and Mississippi. But anyway, and you can look up these because these lands were all surveyed eventually after the Louisiana Purchase, okay? And so they surveyed them all and put them all into, the townships were 36 square miles, and that's how they set up the description of the land. And then you can find those records on who some of the land was given to soldiers from from Revolutionary War and War of 1812, and also from the Mexican War in 1840s, where they were giving land instead of really pay.
Yes.
And those are called bounty lands, okay? Now, not all of the soldiers took the land, nor were all the lands given away. Some of them were sold, and you have to find, in the case where I was, you start with the Milwaukee Land Office, because that was, well, it wasn't the first one. The first one was in, I think it was in Watertown, actually, but Milwaukee came along right away, pretty quick. So they had pretty much all the records. But you can find that, and you have to look on two places. You look on Wiki, on Family Search, and you can look in, and that gives you some information on the land property. Go to Wisconsin, land property, and look up the information that it has. And then you can go, once you know that, you can go to the Ancestry, and you can look up a database, which is for Dane County anyway, that has the deeds, index and deeds, basically from about 1835 up until 1950 for transactions. After 1915, you got to go down to, you got to page your money and go down to Madison and well, for Dane County, you probably would go to other places for other county seats for other areas, but
Here's
you
a
do the
tip.
same thing.
Here's a tip. One of the first things I often do, like when I was looking for stuff for Karen about Olive, is I go to the Door County Library website, go to the genealogy page. It's one of my links. And there's so many things there. I'm just looking at it under land records. There are at least 15 links to things.
Yeah.
So look at what's there. There's unbelievable stuff there. If Laura, I know Laura set this all up. Laura, great job.
Thank you. And as I see, that BLM database is there, and if you look at the tabs, like I have one ancestor who got land in not too far from Green Bay through that database, and they do show the certificate itself in one of the tabs, which is pretty cool. I could show you
I mean,
now. Do you want to
see the
it
handwriting and the whole bit? Yeah,
I need to leave, but when is our next meeting? I have to leave. What's our next
2
meeting?
weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's
Okay.
on the calendar.
All right. Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gretchen.
Bye, Gretchen. Now, I'm still confused about the library BLM site. Is that just including Wisconsin, or is that beyond?
It's the whole. I'll show you quickly. How's that? Because I have this thing where I can share my screen. So I'll give it a try. I haven't done it much. So tell me if this is working. So here's our genealogy page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we see it.
The land records are down here, and here's the BLM.
Oh, sure.
And when you click on that, it takes you here. And here are the land patents. And this is, I'll show you. I know I have this one guy who has the land. So if you go to Wisconsin.
See all those states, that's where you can get information on all those states that she went by. Okay.
Okay. And it goes back up far?
And then, so that's my guy I know is in here. And it's kind of neat. This is the one I know about near Green Bay. And so it will actually show you where the land is if you go like this, which is pretty
Wow.
cool.
Right. Yep.
So you can see where, well, that's not the land I was thinking of, but anyway. Then if you go up here, there's the actual image, which you can download, which is pretty cool.
And it's free.
Yeah, it's all free.
Wow.
Here's printer-friendly version.
How far
And
back? Oh,
Yeah, how far back does it go in history?
Well, this would be the land that was basically given by the government to people who served in the war.
Oh, okay.
And then a lot of them sold it, as you were
Right.
saying. So yeah, here he is in Green, the land was in Green Bay, and it's even signed by the president.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Zachary
Yeah,
Taylor.
right.
yeah. I've got documents like that too. They go back. I've got some that date back to the 1800s. you know, when Joseph was buying up all that
Yeah,
lumber
yeah.
land
In
in
Marquette.
Marquette, Michigan.
Yeah. So that's a fun database if you have people who are in, bought land early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the government one. So that's a land patent. Once it went into the public hands, then it became deeds that changed hands.
Right.
I've got deeds, yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Grand
Door County, I don't remember who, but there were some people in Virginia, some guy in Virginia, for example, bought a whole bunch of the land patents from the soldiers. So he was doing some sort of real estate business. So it's not always just straight land to a soldier. It didn't work quite like that.
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And my ancestor came over from Germany, so he obviously bought the land from someone who got the land from the government.
Interesting sideline. I did a little bit of research on this William White, and just to see, you know, what his background was. And he bought a lot of land in that area, and he was a land speculator. And then one day he left home, and they didn't know where he went. They couldn't find him anywhere. And about 2-3 days later, they finally found him down in a park on the coast in Milwaukee, and he had killed himself from you know, obviously from bad deals. He was financially broke. Okay. And his wife then, of course, she was left with all these bills. And so there was articles in the paper and trying to close the estate or probate. And there was advertisements about people, you know, come tell us that if we owe you money and so on, so she could make restitution. So it was kind of a, you know, interesting story. I don't have a picture of him now.
I wonder if he was related to Peter White, scoundrel from Marquette, Michigan.
I don't know, could be.
Was a
Could
crook.
be.
See, I have an update on the Lethem D. Smith page a day
Okay.
article. The website is crestpavilion.org.
Okay.
And it's labeled Egg Harbor Historical Society's Page a Day to Keep the Doctor Away program. And Giz Herbst started it back in April 21st of this year. And you can get all of the Portlight newsletters, starting with volume 1, part 1. And today he's currently on his latest one this morning was volume 2, page 15 through 28. And it's all in PDF format if you're interested.
Where do we find it on their website?
You go to the crestpavilion.org.
Yeah.
There.
Okay. And it should be there. Egg Harbor Historical Society's Page a Day to Keep the Doctor Away program.
Yeah, but it doesn't come up on the Crest Pavilion site.
It doesn't.
I'm looking at History Center.
Is there anything about Giz Herbst there?
Well, under building, it has History Center.
Or maybe go at History Center.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah, we did.
That's where you are. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's just how to.
How did
Yeah.
you find it here, Barbara?
I don't know.
Well, you'll have to find out for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite interesting.
Here is their website, the Historical Society's website. Maybe that was it.
Sure.
So
Is it coming up? No.
Actually, I think I would look at the Egg
So who's the
Harbor.
picture of? Scroll down, Laura. Who's the picture of down there?
whoops,
Oop,
sorry.
oop.
That's
Share your
the
source.
that's the Birchinger.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. And there's
Okay.
the old
Or I saw
library
Giz
bookmobile.
Herbst.
Here's the blog. I don't know if that's what it is. Do you think?
No.
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 Oh, there we go.
There he is.
There it is.
Oh,
Right
there it is. Giz
Oh,
Herbst.
that's him.
That's him.
Yeah, but that's just about his receiving an award. I found that too.
And it doesn't, they say subscribe to our mailing list, but that would be the whole,
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the mailing list there, I think. That would be it.
That's the thing you're getting with the World War II information?
Yes, well, yeah, Lethem D. Smith Corporation.
Yeah, because they want to know how to access it.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Well, that might be the, you know, you might want to contact them if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, at least we know we can get to that part.
And if you're interested in World War II, do you know we recently, not too recently, put the Portlight newspaper on our newspaper archive?
Well, that's what he does. He puts the Portlight on every day, every morning.
See, we digitized the Portlight, which I don't know if you're aware, we have the microfilms here with the Portlight, but the Portlight is a bound newspaper. So
Yeah.
when they did the microfilms at the State Historical Society, they cut off the center because they couldn't open it. So I had to have the whole thing debound officially, and then we sent it to be scanned at Northern Micrographics. So we have the newspaper all on our newspaper archive now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh,
Which is pretty neat. And
So is that in the res cart, Laura? Or-
yeah, yeah.
All right.
So if you look at our
Portlight,
library,
that's a
newspaper.
Sturgeon Bay newspaper?
Wow.
it was a newspaper put out by the shipyards during World War II.
Ah, okay.
and that's the one that gives Herbst references every morning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he had,
It says that to sign up for the Egg Harbor Historical Society's newsletter. Is that it?
I'm not sure.
All right, here's what it is. It's crestpavilion.org/page-a-day/
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
page a day all run together.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
And it's really the Portlight, Laura, that he's reproducing on a
Yeah.
daily news.
Actually, I
newsletter.
think it's a book.
It's yeah, it's volumes of the Portlight newspaper.
Wow. And then the library is digitized the whole thing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is that Mr. Smith had
Might as well
so much foresight in keeping the family of shipbuilders together. He would promote dances. He would promote picnics in the
They want
park,
to sign out.
and he would have entertainment come in. So it's just an interesting daily story that Giz Herbst puts
There,
together.
she's bringing it up.
Yeah, there it is.
Actually reading the papers, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at a lot of them, even
Oh,
what-
that Big Blue, huh? Is that Big Blue, giant crane? Yeah.
Yeah. even when we scanned debound copies, some of the edges were cut off. You'll find that out, but
Yeah.
got a lot more than the original microfilms.
Yeah.
Because we did do it that way. So they're really fun papers. And
Yeah.
another interesting little story about that is that a lot of the pictures were taken by a gentleman who was an insurance salesman here in Sturgeon Bay. And we have the negatives in the archives for all those pictures.
Wonderful.
But his family doesn't want us to share them freely yet.
Talking about microfilm, Laura, I was wondering about copies of wills. And did you say that they're brittle and we can't get access to them?
No, I don't know of any wills here. There are microfilms that the county has that they don't let a lot of people, they don't like people to look at things very long because they have very old machines. And I'm not sure exactly what's over there, but that might be where it's some of those papers are there.
Okay.
Papers like that have to be given officially to the State Historical Society archive, which for us is in Green Bay, technically, but that doesn't always happen. And so I'm not sure where all of those papers are for the vital records for Door County. Some of them are online, and Ancestry has a bunch of, say, probate records online,
They do.
Yes, they do.
but
Yeah.
not for Door County that I have seen.
But they have it for.
Some for Fond du Lac.
They have put seekingmichigan.org on their online.
Sort of a link. Yeah.
No, they've actually pulled, well, yeah, they connect, I mean, it's direct.
So if those vital records are in the archives, which some of them probably are here, They're not indexed at all or anything yet. But the, what office is it over at the Justice Center that has all that, the vital records? I'm not sure. But I've heard that their machine's old and they don't like
Bye-bye.
spending too long.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Laura.
we're gonna check out here. Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
we should probably
Okay.
all wrap it up because it's been over an hour.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Hey,
you in
Laura.
2 weeks. How's that?
Thanks,
that sounds-
Laura. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for letting me
All
join,
for coming.
guys.
And
Yeah, come
thanks
back,
for all the
Karen.
tips.
Be sure to
will
come
do.
back.
I will. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Bye.
Laura. Bye-bye.
Bye.